It's 5:30 here on the Truman State Campus, and welcome to TMN Television on Thursday, March 17th. I'm Stephanie Best.
And I'm Kasey Harvey. Tonight we look into how one group of Truman students spent their spring break studying the stars.
And catch up on Truman sports with Sarah Hick on the Dog Pound.
These stories and more tonight on TMN Television. You don't want to miss this.
Art professor Jim Jereb recently decided to leave Truman to pursue other interests. TMN reporter Charles Mahood has the story.
Jim Jereb has served as a professor of fine arts at Truman since 1990. He is currently the sole printmaking professor on campus and the faculty advisor to the Truman State Printmaking Club. Now, after 26 years of teaching in Kirksville, he has decided to leave Truman at the end of the semester. Jereb's departure has already had an effect on his students, notably Printmaking Club President Charles Cantrell, who will be graduating in the fall of 2016.
Personally, it actually has been kind of hard on me. Especially since I'm a senior and next semester is my final semester here where I have to do my art show, and he would normally be right there for every step of the process. And so it's kind of weird to think about that he's not going to be here after having classes with him for the past 2 or so years and him being here every single day.
Despite the leadership position he holds in the club and the fact he has been shaping the printmaking program for years, he still feels leaving will be beneficial for both Truman and himself.
I'm pretty much getting obsolete. I mean, I feel like I've outlived my usefulness here, and so it's time for me to let somebody else take over.
Despite leaving the art department at Truman, he will still be continuing his career in art as a museum curator. Jereb will still hold classes at the museum, but his new job will not be as teaching-centric.
My new position is going to not be as teaching-intensive as this one is. I'm going to be a curator of art for a large art museum, and also I'm going to be heading the printmaking section of their new education center. And so I'll be doing some classes, but it's not going to be specifically part of a degree program like it was here.
The university is in the process of forming a committee to search for a new printmaking professor, but are waiting for permission from the administration. Jereb says he has some concerns about this process.
What I would worry about would be the same thing that I would worry about for any facet of the art department. Sure, would somebody leave? And that is that if they don't hire someone in a permanent tenure track position, you lose continuity, and that's what causes a program to fall apart.
Even with his concerns, the students' positive attitude and morale keeps him optimistic about printmaking at Truman going forward. For the Truman Media Network, this is Charles Mahood.
Physics professor Vyajit Godklev and 3 students spent their spring break in Flagstaff, Arizona, doing research about astronomy and light pollution. The professor and the 3 students visited an observatory doing research, observing binary stars. The group plans to take data using light sensor and compare the quality of night sky in Kirksville with the light in Flagstaff to see how it varies. Junior biology major Eric Hilker says he got a lot of valuable experience out of the trip.
I did light pollution research over there, so I used a light sensor, and I would just use this light sensor at various degrees and measure the light pollution there. And then I think the other 2 students would work with the computer system there called Lois, and I think they were studying invariable stars or binary star systems, so something like that. Yeah.
A Truman student recently has been exceeding people's expectations. TMN reporter Dan Micah has the story.
Senior biology major Meg Sorhus identifies herself as a non-traditional student, which is a bit of an understatement. After the school day ends, Sorhus returns from her classes in Magruder Hall to her family's 50-acre farm in Greentop, about 30 minutes north of Kirksville, to tend to her livestock. Along with cattle and a few pigs, Sorhus also owns 2 rare Norwegian horses.
There are only about 5,000 Norwegian fjords in North America. That includes Canada. They're not a very common breed, but you see them here and there, and they're very recognizable.
Sorhus moved to Missouri with her husband and received her first degree in animal science from Truman while starting her family of 3 boys. Afterwards, she led the equestrian team until she was forced to make a choice.
My husband graduated from Truman with his CPA, well, no, with his master's in accounting, and then he got the CPA after that. And I had to make a decision at that point whether to keep teaching and put the kids in daycare or stay home with the kids and do a farm business, which is exactly what we did.
Now, Sorhus's husband runs his own accounting firm from home and tends to the boys and the farm while she studies for her second degree in Kirksville.
When I was doing my undergrad and my graduate work, she was there taking care of the family and taking care of the house and doing all this stuff and supporting me when I was doing my schooling, and now it's my turn to get her through school.
In addition to breeding farm animals, Sorhus also breeds cats. She set up a small webcam in the kin room of her house so she can check on her 2-week-old newborns while she's at Truman. The webcam also gives the cat's future owners a look at their future pet.
But it's also nice for me to be able to see them while I'm at school, make sure that they're fine. I used it a lot before she had her litter. I'd check on her all the time, in between every class, just to make sure that she wasn't going to have them when I was gone.
Sorhus intends to graduate with her biology degree next fall. She says she doesn't exactly know how she'll specialize in veterinary science, but she's considering taking her family to the Caribbean while she pursues her next degree at a school there. For TMN TV, I'm Dan Micah.
After the break, stay tuned for our sports update.
But first, let's take a look at this week's forecast.
This is perfect golden brown. Not the color of frozen, thawed, or reheated. Golden brown. This is made from scratch.
The Hillshire Farm Smoked Sausage Biscuit with a whole smoked sausage, egg, and melty cheese. Only at Hardee's.
For our sports segment, we turn to Sarah Hicks for the Dog Pound, always brought to you by Hardee's. What's new with sports, Sarah?
A lot of interesting things are happening in sports, Stephanie. Jason Kilday recently became the new offensive coordinator for the Truman State football team. Kilday is leaving his position as assistant head coach at Quincy University, where he supervised the quarterbacks and wide receivers. Head football coach Greg Nesbitt says he is thrilled to welcome Kilday and is looking forward to seeing how he leads the team. The Truman State men's and women's tennis teams lost in their spring debut against Emporia State yesterday. The Hornets won the men's duel 9-0 and the women's game 6-3. On the women's side, Emporia won the first 4 single matches as straight sets. The Emporia men took all 6 single matches and all 3 double matches in the 9-set sweep. The Truman State baseball team fell 2-0 during a non-conference doubleheader Tuesday against the Missouri Western State University Griffins. The Griffins took Game 1 6-1 and Game 2 19-9. During Game 1, Griffins got 2-out RBI single in the first and then scored 3 times in the second to take a 4-0 lead. They added another run in the fourth, and the teams exchanged runs in the 6th. During Game 2, Missouri Western scored 6 runs on 7 hits in the first 15 pitches. Upcoming sporting events this week include men's and women's tennis at Missouri Valley College Friday, March 18th in Marshall, Missouri. On Saturday, Truman State baseball and softball teams will be competing in doubleheaders against Augustana University Vikings and Lewis University Flyers.
Thanks, Sarah. That brings us to the end of our program. Be sure to check out our exclusive web content at tmn.truman.edu. For weekend updates and special coverage, look for TMN Television on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Don't forget to check out the latest episode of Rising from Our Roots on YouTube.
And for complete multimedia coverage, be sure to pick up a copy of The Index and tune into KTRM on 88.7 The Edge. From all of us at TMN Television, thank you for tuning in and have a great rest of the week.